miss my old friend.
Okay, that was a pretty dark beginning, but face it, living in the Middle Ages could be a dark time. Sure, there was jousting, and jesters, and castles, and maidens. There's also death, and a lot of it. Do you think going to the doctor these days is bad? What if your doctor looked like this, and he wore these heavy clothes and that awful mask because he was more afraid of getting sick than helping you? What if the only option he offered was to put leeches on you and let you bleed to see if you felt better? That was medicine in the Middle Ages. What if that style of medicine was the only defense against the most deadly disease to ever strike humankind? So let's go back in time. Way back in time. All the way back to the 1300s. Let's go to China, where a flea bit a rat that was very sick. Then a flea bit a person that made that person very, very sick. So sick, in fact, that they died. But they didn't just die. Before they died, they spread the disease to their family and friends. And they spread the disease, and they spread the disease. It is not definite how many people died in China because of the plague, but in the year 1200, China had a total population of more than 120 million. The 1393 census found only 65 million Chinese surviving. More than 50% of the population had simply disappeared. Since China was one of the busiest trading nations in the world, it was only a matter of time before the outbreak of plague in China spread. In 1347, 12 ships arrived back in Italy at the port in Sicily with goods from the Near East. Most of the people on the ships were already dead, and the survivors were horribly sick. They had high fever and were overcome with pain. The worst part was they had mysterious black boils that oozed blood and pus. The authorities sent ships out of harbor, but it was too late. The plague had come to Italy. People called it the Black Death because of the black spots it produced on the skin. Sores the size of an apple would form, turn red, and then turn horribly black. The symptoms were terrible. Fever, chills, continuous vomiting of blood, heavy breathing, diarrhea, terrible aches and pains, and then, in short order, death. The disease spread quickly throughout Europe. The worst part was no one seemed to know how they got it or how it spread. The plague was horrific. Entire towns were wiped out. They simply ceased to exist because people either died or fled, taking the disease with them. Instead of graves, the dead were simply burned in the street. Friars and nuns would go out at night and gather the bodies to burn the next day. There were too many people dying to bury. After 5 years, 25 million people were dead, 1/3 of Europe's people. Doctors now believe the Black Death was an outbreak of bubonic plague. Bubonic plague is one of the 3 types of bacterial infection caused by Yersinia pestis. It is called bubonic plague because the infection reproduces in the bubo, or lymph node, and spreads from there throughout the entire body. Thankfully, the plague died out entirely in the 1600s. Doctors now believe the Black Death was an outbreak of bubonic plague. Bubonic plague is one of the 3 types of bacterial infection caused by Yersinia pestis. It is called bubonic plague because the infection reproduces in the bubo.
Created using Powtoon.